Should I introduce? Do you want to introduce?
I'm going to introduce. I'm charging up.
Hi everyone! Welcome to another episode of We Don't Watch Movies, featuring me, Corinne,
and me, Monze. I haven't done the fake intro theme for a while.
You haven't, yeah.
I think it's because my energy was all the way down here, but today my energy is not down here. So
yes, and we are all the better for it.
Which reminds me, I need to post on it. I tell you this would work. All right, Corinne, what are we doing?
We're talking about a movie neither of us have seen, but certainly at least I have heard referenced multiple times.
Yes.
I feel like I know what this movie's about. We're talking about Fatal Attraction. So, the 1987 Fatal Attraction, because there was a more recent remake or whatever, I think.
Oh, okay, the remake. Okay, yeah, we're not talking about the remake.
No, we're talking about the original Glenn Close.
OG Glenn Close.
Hoochie
Fatal
on camera.
Attraction.
Fatal Attraction.
Wait, what?
Hoochie on camera.
Really?
Yeah, that's what this movie is known for.
What?
Okay.
I knew. What a way to start the month that we are in. Okay.
You didn't know this?
I knew it was like one of the first like sexy thrillers, you know, that really brought upon the age of sexy thriller,
Yeah.
which is so stupid. But I didn't realize it was Hoochie on camera.
Hoochie on camera. Okay, well, we'll get into it, but
Whoa,
that was one of the
Hoochie?
first things I knew about this movie. Okay, Monze, why haven't you seen this film? Could it be perhaps you just subconsciously knew there was Hoochie on camera, and you were like,
subconsciously, and you know how I feel about sex, so
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not into sexy thrillers. Shocker, I know.
Oh, what?
Amazing. Why?
I thought that's all you were into.
I like thrillers, but I need to be like ready to see that.
Yes.
And then I think adding the sexy element is kind of like, why though? Like, I feel like it's probably a response or like an animorph, if I'm using that term correctly.
Animorphs?
Animorph is it's a book series
by K.A. Applegate. Which Animorph are you, Rachel or Cassie?
I've never read those books. I've only seen the covers, and I didn't like the covers. That's why I never read the books. I don't know what the word I'm trying to think of like the noir, right? Where it's like you and like the femme fatale. I think this is obviously where it's coming from, and I like noir. But I think like I don't know. I guess the idea of a sexy thrill just interests me. I know that Fatal Attraction is again that like the beginning of it all. So like I am interested in it in that way. And what about it? Is it just Hoochie on camera that got everyone like pumped up? At attention, if you would. But like, yeah, I guess it doesn't interest me. Also, no offense to Glenn Close, I don't think she's like pretty young.
Yeah.
I think she's very pretty older. I do the same thing for like Meryl Streep. I think Meryl Streep is very beautiful as an older woman. I don't think she's that beautiful as a younger woman. But I also think that might also be part of like the era of like sometimes the makeup and the style just doesn't suit you as a person.
I feel that way about Cate Blanchett. I thought she was way older. Like, I thought she was old the entire time I've seen her, but she's not.
But she's somehow ageless?
Yeah, like her until
because,
this
like, in Lord of the Rings, it's like, well, obviously she's, like, 50 years old.
That's what
and
I
now
thought!
She's, like, 50 years old, she's like, well, no, how old is this woman? Because...
When she was in that, like, Benjamin Button movie or whatever, she was the love interest, and I was like, what?
But she's so old!
Yeah, but, yeah. I think they're similar in terms of that. Okay.
Can I answer the question?
I think so. I haven't seen the movie because, well, one, I was just too young, and then...
You just stop using that as an excuse. Because you can watch it at any time now. It's
Well,
the fucking 21st
this is the
century.
follow-up. I keep forgetting to watch this movie.
You keep forgetting.
I keep forgetting. Because it's not like a movie at the forefront of my mind. Because, like,
Oh, no.
I think the film definitely has pop culture influence. Especially in, like, the queer drag community. Because it was such an infamous scene. And it has, like, notoriety. But it's not like, I don't view it the same way as like The Godfather or The Matrix or something like that, which I still haven't seen, but are like more talked about, you know? Like, this movie is just like, I've just never had the inclination to watch it. I don't mind thrillers, but I also have to be in the right headspace for it because suspense creates a physical reaction in me, which are uncomfortable, basically gives me anxiety. So...
Yeah. I'm also wondering if just, like, culturally, things like The Matrix or The Godfather, like, there's more films like that than there are films like Fatal Attraction.
Yeah.
So it's, like, knowing that that is the influence and you can see it, I think it's more apparent where it's not easy to forget that those exist, as opposed to, I think, Fatal Attraction, where unless you're watching something that, like, explicitly references it, it's probably like, oh yeah, this is a Fatal Attraction thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, basically any movie about the future or computers is like, well, obviously The Matrix or any action film when they're doing slow motion, well, this is obviously, you know, that
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like the films that are most similar to Fatal Attraction are all like Lifetime movies, which I have like zero interest in.
I cannot watch Lifetime at all. It's not good writing, and it's just so cliche. And like, Glenn likes to watch the Lifetime holiday movies. I'm like, no, I cannot.
They're the same thing.
It's the same thing every time, and I understand. Like, yes, there's some things I like that are all alike, but like I feel like that's slightly different than like a cookie cutter of like this is this.
Well, the other thing too, I feel like what you like tends to have decent production value. The Lifetime movies also lack in production value. It's like, if you're not going to give me substance, give me style, and those are giving me neither of those things. You know? Yeah. Okay, so Monze, what do you think happens in this film?
Well, I know that a hoochie's on screen now. This is just gonna be like the description for this is gonna be like
Hoochie
the
on screen.
Yeah, because we use it a lot. The term. What do I think happens? All right, I think I think there's an affair going on.
Oh.
Right? Who are the characters? Who are the actors? Is it what's his face?
I don't know. I only know Glenn Close is in it because someone mentioned her recently. I wouldn't have known she was in it prior.
Okay. I think Glenn Close is probably like maybe a secretary of like the main guy. I don't know why I'm putting air quotes. The main guy, right? He's the main guy. And she's like young, sexy, and like hitting on him. And he's kind of like interested. He's like, oh no, I'm married. I can't young, hot Glenn Close. But of course, he gives in. And then I think probably somewhere in the middle of the movie, he's like, no, I can't keep doing this. I need to break it off with you. And she's like, if I can't have you, then no one can have you. And maybe she starts like stalking him and like ruining his life and like going to the wife and being like, I am having sex with your husband.
Ooh.
That kind of thing. And I'm assuming at the end, I don't know. Is it crazy to say she dies?
Is it crazy to say she dies?
I don't know. Is that like taking it to another level?
I don't think it's crazy to say that. If it was
Okay,
Hays Code era, she would have to die.
Okay, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she probably is like the climax or the end of the film is like, we've got the gun on you, and she's like, I'm gonna kill you, and he's like, don't. And maybe she tries to shoot him, and it like grazes him, but she catches her, but they're on the roof of a building, and she's like, no. And she's gonna fall backwards. She's like, I'm gonna save you, but she falls back.
I was gonna say, I bet she falls to her death. Yes!
She falls to her death. And he's like, no. And He's like, the lesson was I have to think with my brain and not my dick.
I was also thinking, I bet she falls to her death. I feel like we don't.
That's like such like the easy way to kill like a woman.
I'm just
like,
realizing that.
She fell off the building.
Or like I guess in some like fantasy ones getting crushed. Like I feel like she either like a woman, that's the villain, either falls or gets crushed. I'm realizing it's so rare we see like gunshot stabbing. You know, like I know we've seen stabbing, but it seems rarer than like she falls to her death or jumps to her death.
It's like more passive, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to actively hurt a woman, so let's find a way for her to like die without us doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Even just like shooting a woman, it's like always off screen. You know, like you'll shoot a guy and he's like, oh, I've been shot 5 times, right?
Yeah.
And like a woman, it's like, and then you see her fall, and it's like, my wife! You know?
That's true. I will say though, I've seen a couple sci-fi films, and at least one of which was live action recently, where they actually don't have a problem killing, like shooting the woman, but she's Asian. And she's a robot. Be like,
equal rights?
No, because it was.
She's not a real person, and she's Asian.
Yeah, it's like one of the. So like in the live action one, the creator, like she's watching one of the whatever, but she's like a robot with an Asian woman's face, and she answers the door, and like they shoot her point blank. I don't remember how like upfront it is. Like we see her reaction right before it happens, and they shoot her, and then they do some other like unnecessarily cruel stuff to her dead robot body that I'm like, this is gross. But then there's an animated movie I saw, which I think is it was French, Mars Express, and in that one we see again the Asian main character die gruesomely, like multiple times. She gets like shot, like all the women in that movie basically die, like they get shot or sliced in half or like neck broken, whatever, and it's like a lot of it is on screen. But that is animated, so I think it's a little different. But I bet there's a discrepancy that's race-based on shot on screen female deaths. But
yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
What do you think this movie is about?
Okay, I don't have a good grasp on the actual plot of this movie, but
neither did I.
I have a pretty strong grasp of the hoochie on screen moment. So
okay, are you just gonna describe the hoochie on screen?
Well, I'm pretty sure I've seen the clip. Like, so yeah, it's. I think the movie. I think there's an affair, but I think also I'm gonna say they're investigating her for something. So I wonder if like she's a widow and they're investigating her for her husband's murder, but then she starts trying to like have an affair with a detective. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm wondering if that's what it is.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah.
That's what the name of the movie should be, though. If it's
God. Professionalism.
What not to do.
Yeah. I think you might be closer, but I like the plot I have too, so I'm just gonna keep it. Yeah.
Continue.
So I think that's it. So then she gets like involved with this detective, and they're trying to like, they think that she, you know, and then she starts threatening his wife at some point, and then I think she dies by falling. But I feel like the way it happens is she's like hanging on to something and then loses her grip and slips.
Take my hand.
Yeah, like that sort of thing.
I can't hold on. Take my hand.
Or like she and the wife fall off the building, but then they both catch onto the same ledge, and so he grabs the wife or something like that. I feel like that she falls like that instead of like backwards tumbling. But the hoochie on screen moment that I'm certain this is how it happens in the movie. She's in like an interrogation room, and she's sitting on a chair, and she's got like
this movie?
Huh?
That's this movie?
Yes, she's sitting. No, she's sitting on the chair.
Is she not white dress?
I don't know what she's wearing, but she's got like a skirt on, and she's crossed her legs, and then she uncrosses them, and the camera is there, and you realize she's not wearing underwear. So that's the hoochie on screen full bush moment that made it so notorious, because everyone was like, oh, because of the way the filming is, and it's like it's obviously it's not like super graphic, but you can like kind of see like the implication.
You can
yeah.
Make out.
And especially like you see the guy's reaction and her reaction, which is very smug with like, yeah, I'm not wearing underwear right now, and I just like, you know, like I'm trying to trap you with my hoochie, basically. I know what you're looking at, you know.
My hooch trap.
Yes. She's trying to honeypot him.
This movie?
I'm pretty sure that's this movie,
okay,
yeah.
Okay, alright. I'm not excited to see the scene, but I am excited.
Yeah. Because that's like, it's so notorious. It's like that one scene. Yeah.
What a movie. What
I
a
know.
movie we're talking about.
So, that's what I think happens. There's an affair. I think she's culpable for her.
Idiots, that's not this movie.
Like, you have no idea.
Yes, that's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Right,
okay, let's find the trailer.
You haven't even found no.
Let's find the trailer. No, I didn't look up the trailer before. But like everyone always talks about that scene. Like my dad talked about that scene. And I'm like,
ew.
I know. Like it's because it was so like infamous.
I don't want you to talk about the hooch.
I think my mom would be like, "Stop it, Charlie. They don't even know." But
okay, that makes it anniversary of Paramount. Oh, that's right, Michael Douglas.
here's the affair.
Uh-oh.
Oop.
Look at his beautiful wife. Uh-oh. She stalked her.
Oh.
She is, crazy.
Oh.
I like the way the wife is dressed in that scene. Oh no, the baby!
Mm-hmm. Oh.
She kidnapped a child? Oh my god.
Oh my god. Now I'm like, is this the movie with the hoochies?
No, this isn't that scene.
I thought it
That's
is.
from a different movie. No,
What
it's
is
a
the
different
movie?
I kept saying it has to be a different movie.
What is the movie with the hoochie screen? Is it
not
Double
this
Indemnity?
one. No, Double Indemnity with Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck is too classic and also was the 40s.
Has the crossed legs scene. Because this does not look like any of it.
Who?
Basic Instinct! Okay.
But see, that's her in the white dress.
Okay.
That is basic.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't this movie. I was like, what are you talking about? Yes, I knew it.
They have similar names. They're both like sexy, whatever.
Basic Instinct, Fatal Attraction.
I was saying, like, the plot, I'm looking it up, the plot summary is closer to Basic Instinct.
Okay, so I was like I was literally doing the Fatal Attraction, and you were doing Basic Instinct.
I was doing Basic Instinct.
Okay.
Everyone listening to this has just been screaming at me and calling me
everyone
so
in Frankfurt is
dumb.
Alright.
Oh yeah, this is the, I was thinking of Basic Instinct. But,
Okay.
I mean, they're so similar.
What year did that one come out?
Basic Instinct came out in 92.
Okay, yeah, this is 87.
Yeah.
This is 5 years later. Which I think makes sense to, like, up the ante
Yeah.
in the 90s. With Hooch.
With Hooch.
Hoochie.
Hoochie on screen. Yeah, it is the white dress. Okay.
Wow, 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 wow.
Interesting. Okay, I thought these were the same movie.
No, I was like, no, you're wrong. I'm like, because that lady in the dress is not Glenn Close. Like, I knew that for a fact that was not Glenn Close.
That's why I was so confused.
But you were so,
I was
like,
so
sure that I was like, am I remembering wrong? Because
No.
if I've learned anything from teaching psych, that memory lies. You can't trust your memory, so.
I was totally off.
Wow.
As soon as when we were watching this trailer and I looked at how it looked,
You were like,
I was like, wait a minute.
That's what I'm saying.
Where
like,
is their
Glenn Close's
room?
Look, it just doesn't fit her. You know,
Yeah.
like her face and her.
Yeah.
Um.
Okay. Do we want to revise any of this?
Okay. Well, I think it's obvious. Maybe she's not a secretary, but it is like Michael Douglas.
Oh, that's Michael Douglas.
That's Michael Douglas.
Okay.
He runs into Glenn Close at a bar and they have an affair. Maybe they sleep together once or twice. When the wife is out of town, but now she's like, "You're mine." Same thing that we were doing. But although with the knife stabbing, I'm assuming maybe she just gets arrested, or maybe somebody stabs her. Maybe she doesn't fall off the building. But
Yeah.
I want her to fall off the building.
Yeah. Okay, I have to change everything. So I'm rescinding the hooch. No, maybe
We're
there's.
taking it back.
I mean, maybe
we're
there's.
putting
hooch.
on the underwear. We're covering the hooch back up.
Maybe there is hooch on screen. It's just not the way I described it. It's a different scene. I don't know.
It's a different. Hooch.
Yeah, it's not the seductive interrogation room cross legs hooch. That's not that.
Okay.
Okay, so in this movie, I think it's a stalker movie. He like has an affair with this lady, and then she's obsessed with him, and I think she has a history of being like obsessive. Yeah, and I think that's something they find out, that she has a history of being like a stalker, and so she keeps like harassing his wife and harassing his place of work and like fucking with his car, and then because he is probably like a spineless man who is terrible at boundaries, probably doesn't like say no to her enough, like strongly enough, and so she keeps like going for it, and then by the time he finally is like yells at her to stop, she's like, "Oh, you're obsessed with me," or something, and like she just doesn't stop, where she'll be like, "You ruined me and I'm gonna take my revenge," you know.
The problem is you, not me.
Yeah. And then it looks like it escalates with her stealing the kid, but I think it actually escalates with she sneaks into their house and tries to murder everybody. So, and then I still think she could die of falling. But maybe she just gets arrested, and the ending thing is like at the trial, and she's like, "You still love me, admit it," while she's being like taken away. And
Whoa,
he just, like,
I
leaves.
like that.
Yeah,
The drama of it all.
the drama of it all. All right, are you ready?
I am so ready for this.
I'm ready to figure out what this movie is, because it's not what I thought it was.
You didn't know.
I know. I'm like, whoa.
You don't even know what we're not watching today.
I don't know what I don't know. Okay. All right. Dan Gallagher is an attorney from Manhattan. While his wife Beth and daughter Ellen are out of town visiting Beth's family, he has an affair with Alex Forrest, an editor for a publishing company whom he had recently met at a work function. Initially, it seems that both Dan and Alex understand their affair to be just a fling, but Alex begins to cling to him.
Uh-oh.
Interesting that her name is shortened to this masculine name. Dan reluctantly spends the following day with Alex at her request. See, bad boundaries. When he tries When he tries to leave, she cuts her wrists in a manipulative ploy to have him stay and save her.
Oh my god.
I hate that.
Oh my god. She's
Yeah, that's immediately like, fuck you. Dan helps her, stays overnight to ensure that she is alright, and then leaves in the morning. Okay, here's the thing. You get on the phone call, you call 911, you say, "This woman's bleeding out," and then you leave when the ambulance arrives. You don't need to stay. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's other ways to help this woman.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay. You can call someone for her, Good Samaritan, and then leave. But no, he's not doing that. Alex shows up at his office to apologize for her behavior and invites him to a performance of Madame Butterfly. He declines.
Oh, no.
Ugh. Yeah. She continues to call him at his office until he informs his secretary that he will no longer take her calls. Alex insists that Dan meet with her and informs him that she is pregnant, arguing that he must take responsibility. So now she's baby trapping him.
God, she is so... She is... Okay.
After Dan changes their phone number, Alex meets Beth, who has advertised selling their apartment, pretending to be interested in buying it. That night, Dan goes to Alex's apartment to confront her, and they get into a scuffle. In one of the movie's most famous lines, she declares, "I'm not going to be ignored, Dan."
That's the movie's most famous.
That's the most famous line. I mean, to be fair, this was quoted in a Reddit thread where people were talking about her in Fatal Attraction, because she's in
really?
Yeah, she's in a different upcoming movie. Which is why I thought this was the line of, like, when she crosses the legs, that's what she says. So I was like, this just continues. This supports my erroneous thought process right now. Alright. Dan, Beth, and Ellen moved to Bedford. Oh, okay.
Massachusetts.
No, this is Bedford, New York, still.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're all with Bedford, Massachusetts people that represent.
You're not even from Massachusetts.
No.
Did you just visit this place when you visited Boston?
No, I don't even know if it's a real place. It sounded right in my head. I'm so tired.
We're
tired.
both
Okay.
doing really well right now. It is a town in Massachusetts, so
Yes!
there you go.
Boom.
Alright, they moved to Bedford, but this does not dissuade Alex. She has a tape recording of herself delivered to him, which is full of verbal abuse. She stalks him, pours acid.
You know what?
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say it was gonna be of like sex sounds. I don't.
It's
I mean, I guess verbal abuse is better, but I thought it was gonna be something awful. Just the way that.
I like
I
that
guess
you
my
think.
mind thinks that the should go is just worse.
I like that you think sex sounds is worse than verbal abuse.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Moaning and groaning. Could you imagine putting that on? Like,
That's where the hoochie shows up on screen.
That's where it pops up.
Okay, she stalks him, pours acid onto his car, and follows him home later.
Oh, is that what that was in the
Yeah.
theater? Acid? I thought it was paint.
I thought it was flour. I was like, she's
Oh,
flour.
I had no idea what that was. Okay. You know what? I do have a question. Like, where the fuck do you get acid?
I think you can.
Like, can you go to the hardware store and buy acid? Because, like, I was watching a drama. Of course, you know me. I'm watching a K-drama. And, like, this guy was, like, he was throwing acid on the people or whatever. And I was like, well, where the fuck do you get acid?
The
Just
dark.
Amazon?
No.
Like, where do you get that? Because that is a thing, too. Like, they threw acid. And, like, where are they getting acid? Like, at the CVS? Like, I have no idea how to get acid.
I feel like
Should
you
I
could
Google
buy some
how
at
to get
Home
acid
Depot?
and put on the FBI most wanted search list? I don't know.
Where can you buy acid?
Asking for a friend. For research purposes.
CVS popped up.
What did it say?
CVS is the first. CVS, Whole Foods. I
Is
hope
it
that
actual acid or is it like, I don't know, something else?
maybe they're using like car battery stuff. Now they think I'm talking about LSD, but I'm talking about like.
Where can I get drugs, man? Go to your local Whole Foods.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm.
Okay, alright, that's fine.
Okay,
I just,
yeah.
it is something that I've always been like, okay, like that's bad, but also, where can you get that?
Like, where can you buy like hydrochloric acid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like at least in Back to the Future, they explain that he got the plutonium by ripping off the Lebanese, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, but like, where do you get acid?
It looks like you can buy it from Amazon.
Wow. Okay then.
Yeah. And hardware stores. I think you can get it. I was going to say, I think hardware stores. Because
Hardware stores?
you
Okay.
need some of it for different things, like acid washing or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay. She gets it somewhere. I think she gets like the powder acid. I think that's what that was. I don't know. Anyways, the sight of his happy family through their window makes her vomit. She follows him home to his house.
Okay, yeah, I figured, but just like, that's so extra.
I know.
How dare you be happy without me?
Alex's obsession escalates when Dan approaches the police to file a restraining order, claiming it is for a client. Okay, so see, he's finally doing something that's not enough. The lieutenant informs him that he cannot violate Alex's rights without probable cause, and that the client must own up to his adultery. When Dan, Beth, and Ellen return home one day after being out, Beth finds Ellen's pet rabbit dead, having been left boiling in a pot on their stove. Oh my god.
What? Not even just like, oh no, it's dead. That's awful.
That's horrible.
bad. This lady is crazy.
Yeah. That's just cruel. That's horrible. Oh my god. Okay.
Wow.
Dan knows that Alex was behind it, and following this, confesses the affair and Alex's pregnancy to Beth. Enraged, Beth orders him to leave. I don't blame her. Prior to departing, Dan calls Alex to say that his wife knows about the affair. Beth takes the phone and tells Alex that she will kill her if Alex comes near their family again. So Beth tells Alex, "I'm gonna kill you."
Oh no, that's gonna make her upset.
Yeah. Soon thereafter, Alex picks Ellen up from her school and kidnaps her, taking her to an amusement park. Oh, I thought that was like a little boy next to her, but I guess it was.
I know, it did look like a little boy, but they kept saying, "Where's Ellen? Where's Ellen?" And I was like, oh, I guess that's a little girl.
Oh, I thought they were saying, "Where's Alan?" Okay.
No, Ellen.
Okay. Beth drives around frantically looking for her and gets into an accident requiring hospitalization.
Oh my god.
Alex returns Ellen home unharmed later that day. I don't think she's gonna hurt the girl, because she's gonna be like, "I want you to think I'm nice. That way when I kill your mom, then I'll be your new mom." That's what I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. After visiting Beth in the hospital, Dan forcibly enters Alex's apartment and attempts to strangle her, but stops short of killing her.
Dude, that is not what you need to be doing.
Weren't you supposed to own up to the adultery, and you did?
If you know she kidnapped your daughter, you should tell the fucking police she kidnapped your daughter.
Yeah.
Because your daughter could be like, where were you? I was in the minibar. Who were you with?
Yeah.
That bitch right there.
Yeah. And also you can admit the entire, like, you have probable cause now because you're willing to admit that you had an affair. So, like,
yes.
Go back and get the restraining order. What are you doing?
Oh my god. Sir, Dan.
Because now he's just giving her fodder to use against him of, like, he broke into my house and tried to kill me.
He tried to kill me.
Yeah. Alright. She grabs a kitchen knife and lunges at him, but he manages to disarm her and then leaves. The police begin to search for Alex after Dan reports the kidnapping. Oh, now he reports the kidnapping. Beth forgives Dan, and they return home after Beth is discharged from the hospital. That evening, Dan is downstairs in the kitchen making tea for Beth, while Beth is upstairs in the bathroom getting ready to take a bath. Before she disrobes and gets in, Alex suddenly appears with a knife. She accuses Beth of obstructing her from having Dan and attacks her. Ooh. Dan rushes upstairs after hearing the attack. Initially, Dan is able to subdue Alex and appears to drown her in the bathtub. Moments later, she suddenly emerges from the water swinging the knife. Beth quickly returns with a gun and shoots Alex, killing her. Whoa!
Wait, where'd the gun come from?
I don't know. They just had it.
Did they buy a gun?
I have no
protection?
idea. Maybe. But she shot her. We were just talking about we felt like we needed to see women get shot that often. Here she gets shot.
You know what? Good for them.
Good for them.
That's right. Women should be murdered on screen.
That's totally a thing that doesn't happen nearly enough.
White women should be murdered heinously on screen.
By other women. This is what we need more.
By other white
women. Murdering women. Okay.
About time we see some feminism.
Dan completes his statement to the police and joins Beth in the living room with a picture of their family in the foreground.
Wow.
All right.
Real attraction indeed.
She was so attracted, she died.
She was so attracted that she died.
That's what I was saying. She was so horny, she died. She was too attracted to him that she ended up dying.
So glad I don't have the horny gene. Imagine how life would be like. It'd be terrible. You couldn't do anything. training. I do lots of things.
Arguably too many things. While filming her death scene, Close suffered a concussion and wound up in the hospital. She later found out she was pregnant during filming.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. Wow. Fatal Attraction. Wow.
The alternate ending. Alex Forrest was originally scripted slashing her throat at the film's end with the knife Dan had left on the counter to make it look like Dan had murdered her. After seeing her husband being taken away by police, Beth finds a revealing cassette tape that Alex sent Dan in which he threatens to kill herself. Upon realizing Alex's intentions, Beth takes the tape to the police, who clear Dan of the murder. The last scene shows in flashback Alex taking her own life by slashing her throat while listening to Madame Butterfly. When the film was test screened for audiences, the ending was poorly received as audiences disliked the idea of Alex triumphing in the end.
That makes sense.
Yes. Joseph Farrell, who handled the test screening, suggested that Paramount shoot a new ending. While Douglas approved of changing the ending as he believed it was best for the film, most of the cast and crew disliked the idea, mainly Ann Archer and Glenn Close, with the former being appalled by the change and bursting into tears when hearing the news, and the latter having doubts about reshooting the film's ending because she believed the character would self-destruct and commit suicide. Lynn initially refused to change the ending until Lansing offered him an additional $1.5 million salary to shoot it, while Dearden reluctantly accepted writing the new ending, believing the film would be a bigger hit if it changed. There is so much to this. Close initially refused to do the reshoots and fought against the change for 2 weeks before eventually giving in on her concerns and filming the new sequence after William Hurt convinced her to do it. Although the ending was not the one she preferred, she acknowledged that the film would not have experienced the enormous success it did without the new ending because it gave the audience a sense of catharsis, a hope that some of the family unit would survive the nightmare. Interesting. Like,
Yeah, I can see that.
so both of the women, like the person who played the wife and Glenn Close, didn't like the new ending. I kind of liked the original ending they had suggested. That seems more thematic, like consistent, because of the Madame Butterfly thing, and it does seem more in character for her, because she already, in the beginning, that was how she got him, by slitting her wrists. Yeah. So then here she's like, you thought I was bluffing, I'm not. Like, I'm gonna go out the way I want. So. Interesting.
I guess a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do like the new end, the ending there is now, just because the cathartic of like you got that bitch, right? As opposed to she getting them, right? Because you've already been on this whole ride, and now it's like, and even in her death, you cannot win. Right? Like, I can see how that can be very just like frustrating as a viewer.
Yeah.
But I do agree that it is definitely maybe probably more in character. Because we have seen her, right?
Yeah.
Basically attempt suicide before. She has been recording things, the Madame Butterfly thing, so
Yeah. It says, Close shared in a 2010 cast reunion interview that she never thought of her character as a villain, stating that I wasn't playing a generality, I wasn't playing a cliche, I was playing a very specific, deeply disturbed, fragile human being whom I had grown to love. And then the writer said he thought the theatrical ending was sexist, and the way Alex was portrayed in it, stating that he didn't want to make her a monster, but rather a sad, tragic, lonely woman holding down a tough job in an unforgiving city. I feel like it's, like, I think the theatrical ending has more catharsis, like what they're saying. The audience is going to enjoy it more. But the original ending, to me, feels more, like, narratively appropriate. But it depends on, like, how do you want the audience to feel in the end? Do you want them to feel uncomfortable, or do you want them to feel relieved? And that's kind of what it comes down to, right?
And when it comes down to your numbers, because film is still a business, so
Yeah. Like, I think it could have worked either way. I think even
Yeah.
with the original ending, it probably would have gotten popular, but I think it would have been more of a cult film, and eventually been appreciated, but it wouldn't have done, like, numbers the way that it
Success
did.
that it had.
Yeah. So, interesting.
Alright, Crane. What are you thinking?
Hold on, one more piece of trivia. So, to prepare for the role, Close consulted several psychologists. She was uncomfortable with the bunny boiling scene, that is how Wikipedia described it, which she thought was too extreme, but she was assured on consulting the psychologist that such an action was entirely possible, and that Alex's behavior corresponded to someone who had experienced incestual sexual abuse as a child. Interesting.
Very interesting. Huh. Okay.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Baby Reindeer.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch that, but that was that one, that lady that
Yeah.
was obsessed with that guy, right?
Yeah, she was also stalking him and was also like overstepping boundaries. He had a difficult time stopping the boundaries. That one goes in a different direction. It's less physically violent, but goes more sexually violent. But there is physical violence in it. But it reminds me a bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm curious, like, what films came before it that explored similar themes, or if this was kind of like the first one that really went here.
I was, always under the impression that this was like the first one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Google sexy thriller.
Sexy. Because this is very specifically like a stalking, obsession sort of movie. It does say here at the bottom, see also Basic Instinct. A 1990
Don't act like that's a win.
A 1992 film which also stars Douglas, exploring similar themes. Yeah, influence in setting off. Okay, it just says the film is noted for its influence in setting off the erotic thriller boom of the late 1980s to the mid 1990s. So this was the movie that did it then.
Yeah, as I say it.
As you were saying.
So good.
The erotic thriller has been interpreted as a direct descendant of film noir.
What did I say? An
I
anamorph.
did not believe you.
An anamorph of film noir.
1981's Body Heat, one of the first films of the erotic thriller's classic period, was inspired by the film noir Double Indemnity. So, okay, see? These are coming together. I was connecting
the
dots without realizing I was connecting dots. These were existing in the same brain space. They were in the kitchen cupboard in my brain that is erotic thriller. I just didn't read the labels.
Oh, the erotic thriller cabinet in your brain?
Yeah. I opened it and was like, okay, which one has the hoochie on screen moment? Is it this one? Is it this one?
And what you found was a bin with everything in there, with all the junk mishmashed together. But it was in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got there in the end. It's all connected. They're all in the same drawer. Interesting. Okay. This is like a whole other thing I'm not going to get into, but yes. Monty, what do you think? What do you think about this movie?
It was interesting. I'm glad I know what happens if I ever watch it. I'm prepared. I'm glad there's no hoochie on screen that I know of.
That we know of.
I don't know. Am I doing stars yet, or am I still just saying what I think?
Yeah, just what you think. I've been talking a lot, so I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, but that's normal. And I guess I don't know what I think because I still like the erotic thriller. To me is just a genre that I don't really think I touch in any way. I think I can see why it began like this, you know, blanket of erotic thrillers to follow, right? Because it is like, oh, especially as we're moving, like the 70s was, and like the late 60s was really this moment of film where it was like, we no longer have the Hays Code, let's do whatever we want, and that includes having like, let's have our boobs out and do all this crazy stuff. And of course, once we get to the 80s, you get to like that conservative mindset, right? Fucking Reagan. So it's like, okay, we have this ability to show basically whatever we want on screen, but like we are, of course, America is fucking repressed to the bones, right?
Yeah.
So I can see why, especially at this moment, what year was this, 87?
Yeah.
Why this would hit where it would be like, oh, we're still like really fucking repressed. We are getting to this age where like we as Americans are like the best, but it's like, no, there is this darker side to like what we have or what we want or the American dream, right? Like the dangers of cheating on your wife when you're a successful white man, right? Like what could possibly happen if you know, choose a crazy white lady, right? So I guess in that context, like thinking about it, like I can see why this movie was very, very good and very just like so successful. I don't know how much it appeals to me specifically.
Right.
I'm definitely not the audience.
Right.
But yeah. So I guess that's what I'm thinking. It's interesting. I can see the impact. I still don't know if I'd watch it, but I'm glad I know what happens.
Right. That makes sense. I'm wondering also, the idea of a woman being the villain. I know they're trying to say, I didn't even paint her as the villain, but she's like the villain. She's the mentally...
Well, she's the antagonist.
She's the antagonist,
protagonist,
yeah.
So yes, she's gonna be the...
She's not mentally well. She's willing to resort to violence. If I'm not mistaken, we're coming off of the 70s. There was a lot of like slashers, where the woman
even in the 80s.
Yeah, the 70s and 80s. So it's a lot of like male slashers, even though was it the Jason Voorhees one? It was the woman who was doing it. Spoilers. Like Jason was doing it, but she was like the first one or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't remember. Yeah.
I think in the first movie it's the mom.
Yeah. But the idea is still that like it's mostly a masculine figure, and so I'm wondering if there's a bit of subversion there, where like you don't know how far she's gonna go and how far she's going to take it, and what that looks like, because it hasn't been explored as much up to this point. Which again, maybe this is like more like not as like on beat as it is, but just thinking about slashers. And then also on the other end, we're approaching the 90s, which is the big counterculture, you know, sort of period where stuff that had been prior mostly underground is now at least getting a mainstream, if not recognition, but like spotlight, right? Like we're getting into like grunge and zines and like just more underground, gritty sort of stuff, right? Like we see that in the fashion too. Yeah. So I'm wondering if this also is like indicative of that shift towards like grittier stuff you wouldn't, like subversive stuff you wouldn't expect. Content.
I want to, if I could go back to something we were saying earlier, which was men being this like antagonist and this villain and like pushing the limits of like what we as humans probably should do. And like here we have like a woman, and I think it's interesting where it's like I feel like for men they don't really need a strong reason, whereas for like in this instance where we're seeing a woman doing it, it's like no, it's because she's obsessed with this guy, right? Which again, if we really want to be feminist, sometimes women are just crazy too, you know? Sometimes we want to let loose and, like, slash a couple of people. Why not, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is interesting, again, like, thinking about motivations of, like, in what instance would a woman go sort of crazy that she's kidnapping children and boiling bunnies and, you know, threatening to kill themselves, versus, like, a guy where it's like nothing is going on in his life, but he is insane, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So.
Because she's also, like, she's a career woman. She doesn't have a family of her own. She lives in New York. I was just wondering while you were saying that if there's also some sort of overlap with, like, male anxiety over female independence that's happening.
There could be that.
Yeah. Because
or even, like, the response of, like, look what happens when a woman is single and successful, like, and she doesn't have, like, that husband and that children, she goes crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, continue.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say that is the writer's intent. I need to, like,
no.
But
I'm thinking, like, again, at this age,
yeah.
again, big conservative movement, like, what are we afraid of?
What could be appealing about it to people as it plays on those anxieties? Because, like, Alien was doing that with, like, body horror, but specifically, like, rape, right? Like, against men, or just, like, gender neutral rape, where it could happen to anybody in the exact same way, right? With the xenomorph.
Yeah.
And The Thing is similar to that too, where it's like it's all men, and you don't know, like, it's playing off of those dynamics. And again, it's body horror. It's your body changing against you, which is something men usually never have to worry about, but women conventionally, if they get pregnant, that is something that happens to them. Their body is changing. You know, they know what to expect, but they also don't know what to expect, right? And it's changing against their will, and it's different for everybody, right? Like, how it affects you. So, all that to say that I could see... I'm not quite sure what's happening in terms of the feminist movement in the 80s at this point, or leading up to it, or around now, but I imagine at this point people are more comfortable with women in the workforce, and they're probably joining. Like, it's no longer a matter of my husband is away at war, or my husband came back but I don't want to give up my job. It's now people, like girls, entering the workforce as adults, thinking I want to be a career woman from the time they were children, right? Because if they were born in the 40s or born in the 50s or 60s, then, and this came out in the 80s, then they would be, like, going to college intentionally just because they want to and because they want a job. They would be, like, specifically trying to make a name for themselves without the need of a man. So I'm wondering if this is also, like, playing off of that, or part of why it was successful, or what it was playing off of contextually. Or even, like, the seed of why the writer might have thought of this idea, even if he wasn't consciously trying to say, like, she needs a man or something.
Yeah. What is going on in, I don't know, culturally in the zeitgeist, like, what could inspire you, or...
Yeah. And I imagine that mental health conversations might also be happening a bit more around this time, because she's clearly disturbed. So I'm wondering what other films are out that might be dealing with, like, severe mental health problems that result in, like, deranged behavior like this. If they're, like, if it's starting to come out around the same time, or if they precluded this or something. So, yeah. It's the analysis section of this podcast.
Deep analysis.
Yes. Let us know what you think, if you agree or disagree or have additional context. I know, I'm not ending it. I'm just saying, I'm shouting out to our dedicated listener base in Germany. We know about you. But Monze, what would you rate this movie?
I would rate this movie, I think put the one roller down. I would rate this movie, I guess I want to say a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a 4 out of 5. I think there's a lot of good things in here. Again, I don't think I am the audience, like the target audience, but thinking objectively, I think it's a pretty well done film. It's been very successful. And it's interesting to see, like, the path this woman goes on to get this man in like a bad way, right?
Yeah.
It's not like a rom-com where it's like, well, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a 4 out of 5. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. I feel like 4 out of 5 too. I'm curious about the execution of it because, like, I know reading the synopsis, it's like, here's what she does, etc.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about how she goes about it and what the tone and the pacing and the mood looks like for the descent. Like, what is he saying to her? You know what I mean? Like, especially if the actress and the writer are viewing her as the sympathetic character, then I'm like, okay, then how is she being shown? You know, because that was something in Baby Reindeer. It was very like, he's clearly the victim, and she's clearly like unhinged and not well. But you do understand why he feels sorry for her, and there are certainly instances where it's like, okay, she's in the wrong, but I also don't like how he behaved. You know, so I'm curious if there's a bit of that in this movie too.
Huh.
So, but I would give it a 4.
So I want to say no, but I'm kidding. But I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
It does make me more interested
Yes.
in watching it, especially because I know the beats.
Yeah.
But at the same time, will I? Probably not.
I keep forgetting about this movie. And
Yes.
I'm not like, wow, I have to watch it. So
Yeah.
I'd love to read it if it was a book. Like that, I'd have no problem.
Let's get the novelization out. Let's do it. Let's go.
Right? But yeah, I would give it a 4 out of 5 too.
Okay, cool.
That feels like a correct
That feels right.
correct rating. Yes. It feels right.
That feels good. I like that.
Okay.
Alright.
Well, thanks for listening. Monze, where can they find us?
Oh, you can find us at We Don't Watch Movies Pod on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at MagicMonster.
Yeah.
What about you,
You
Corinne?
can find me on Instagram at Corinne is Korean. That's 1 R and 2 N's.
Yay! I try to post every Friday about our new episodes. So if that doesn't happen, it's just because I have ADHD. As we established
sheep
at the
for
beginning
gore.
of the
Yeah.
episode. So we'll just deal with that as it comes. Okay.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yay!